my recommendations to countries that maybe haven't digitalized as much as we have is to think about the human first, and then introducing technology together with the teacher, instead of just introducing technology and leaving the teachers alone. That is the worst mistake we've made. I'm Jannie Jeppesen, and I'm the CEO of Swedish EdTech Industry, which is kind of a new trade association for EdTech companies operating in Sweden. And we have today around 80 members, and they are consisting of different types of companies within different segments of the education sector. So I would say that EdTech in Sweden, or digital technology in the education system in Sweden, is very developed in some senses. We are highly digitalized, one of the highest digitalized countries when it comes to our education system. In like year 12 to 16, the kids in Sweden today have a tablet per person, or a device, or a computer per student. So it's a highly degree of technology penetration in that sense. At the same time, Sweden got its first national digital strategy for education in 2018. It's only 2 years ago. So during these 20 years, the education system have been digitalized, but it has been a bottom-up movement. So it has come from teachers, principals, or municipalities, and it has just been increasing in the school system. But it's only now that the policymakers of Sweden made it a mandatory thing to have, all kids have the right to develop digital competence and to have the right tools, and now we're digitalizing the national tests. And so it's a lot of things going on at the moment in Sweden because of the national strategy. I see the national strategy as a very good thing because it's about equity. It has been very unequally distributed in Sweden. So the national strategy is good for equity, and you need to get the hygiene factor up so that everybody has access to, and also the competence of the teachers, because there's no idea in just putting in computers in a classroom if you don't know what to do with it. So, and that is, I think, one of the main key learnings, and also one of the main focuses of the national digital strategy, that teachers' competence is key. I think that teaching and the professionalism of teachers are something that you shouldn't underestimate. And I think that the hesitancy is that you haven't proven that it works yet. And a good teacher doesn't do anything that doesn't work. And what they want to work is they want to see their kids learn more, or the kids learn the right things, or the kids develop different skills, or the kids feeling good. A teacher will always do what works. So if that doesn't work, you need to understand why isn't the practice changing. And it can be different factors. It can be like implementation. You have a classroom is extremely complex, and introducing technology, which is a very powerful tool, can increase the complexity. And since learning is one of the most complex activities in human life, and so is the school system. So I would say that the teacher's education when it comes to adopting technology and using the potential of technology for learning is underdeveloped and haven't been focused. And haven't been the key factor, but it is now in Sweden. It's on the national agenda at the moment, and it's very needed. So my recommendations to countries that maybe haven't digitalized as much as we have is to think about the human first, and then introducing technology together with the teacher, instead of just introducing technology and leaving the teachers alone. That is the worst mistake we've made. We need to have a high degree of trust in teachers, and they need to have a high degree of authority. like a prescription right on what they want to do in their classroom. But at the same time, they also need to get to be given the time and the situation from their leaders and from their managers to understand what is happening around in the world. Because if you're going to teach kids to learn, write, and communicate and develop different skills and competences, you need to do that in the context that they're growing up in and in the future where they are going to lead their lives. And the complexity of society today is super, super complex. So I would say it's even more complex to teach today than it has ever been before. So you need to have more training and more time to reflect and more time to collaborate with your peers, your teacher colleagues in order to evaluate and find ways to develop the skills needed for tomorrow. When it comes to higher education or adult education or workforce training, it is something that in Sweden we don't have a national strategy for higher education, for example. The universities and high schools, the universities in Sweden have a very high degree of autonomy. And we don't have a national digital strategy. And at the same time, the universities really need to adapt to be relevant and to cater for the need for lifelong learning and also the right accessibility to higher education, because education is the most critical for a nation, for a company, or for the public sector, for all of us. It's the most critical issue. And this is something that the Swedish government also have acknowledged. So they have put together a group that will address these questions for 2 years to make it more relevant. When it comes to EdTech companies and the European setting, the European market, if you talk business language, the European market is very decentralized. It consists of extremely many nations with state regulations and national curriculums, and that means that as an EdTech company, like in Sweden, 10 million inhabitants, we're a small country, and it costs a lot of money to develop digital services and products. And you need to have a wider perspective than just the Swedish market as an end market. But that also takes that you need to have like a global sense of what is working and scalable on a business level. And at the same time, there will always be the need to locally adapt so that makes EdTech very local. The education systems are very regulated, and it's also very culturally based, really. It's a strong culture thing for a society. The education system is one of the most important reproducers of your own society. So it's very locally based in many levels. Also when it comes to teachers, cultures, and how they work and what kind of education teachers have, it differs very much around the world. And Europe is it's a continent, but it's extremely split out. As wonderful as it is with all the cultures and languages we have in Europe, it's also a difficult market.